Iced your wives, Robyn, and kids ordered to leave. Kody finally realizes the reality. Hello everyone, hope you're all doing great and remaining blessed. If you haven't already, kindly subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Now, let's discuss something that has really shaken the Brown family to its core. The calm streets of Flagstaff have been abuzz with gossip, hush talk, and a few side-eye glances. The news is out. Robyn Brown, who was once believed to be Kody's go-to wife, and her children have been instructed to vacate the house they shared. With him, not invited, ordered out. It's a dramatic twist, but to those who've been along for the ride, it's not entirely surprising. Decades of tension, heartache, and clear-cut favoritism finally have Kody saying out loud what everyone from his wives and children to devoted fans has been saying for years. Robyn was a key player in bringing down the family. But don't think for a second that this was all about grabbing boxes and moving out. This was the bitter culmination of years of tense marriages, emotional abandonment, and unresolved resentments, at long last reaching a boil. As Robyn wept and packed her things, and her children watched in bewilderment and despair, Kody sat in silence. Gazing out over Coyote Pass, he was at last confronted with reality and with the destruction he contributed to the beginning of the end. For years, audiences observed as cracks began to form in what once seemed to be one big plural family. What began as a mutually supportive home founded on love and shared values. For wives, 18 children began to fray the moment Robyn entered the scene. She introduced something new at first. Kody was lighter, visibly with her. He smiled more, laughed more, even talked softer when she was present, like he had found something all over again. The other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, attempted to be tolerant. They attributed it to the novelty of something new, thinking the honeymoon would wear off eventually, but it didn't. It got worse. In fact, before long, the favoritism was impossible to ignore. Robyn's children received the best gifts at Christmas. Her home was the first fully furnished, updated, and decorated. Kody spent more nights there than all the other wives combined. And Robyn, her needs always came first. As the years passed, Janelle and Christine emotionally distanced themselves. Mary clung longer than others anticipated, believing, alas, perhaps naively, that she and Kody might repair what had gone wrong between them. Robyn increasingly felt at ease, more confident and decidedly more secure in her favorite position. Then came the pandemic and a family in crisis. CO-19 made festering problems boil over. Kody employed safety as the excuse to quarantine at Robyn's residence nearly full-time. He instituted strict regulations for his other wives and kids. Regulations he did not appear to enforce at Robyn's residence. It was the turning point for others. Christine, no longer wanting to be an outsider in her own home, left. Janelle did the same not long afterwards, opting for freedom rather than being invisible. Even Mary, the most steadfast of them all, said she was moving on with her life. Nevertheless, Kody never quite appeared to view the actual problem. He attributed Christine's choice to her attitude. He criticized Janelle's autonomy. He accused outside forces, society, media, even his children, without ever considering the single individual sitting at the root. Robyn? Everyone else saw it. Why couldn't he? For years, Kody ignored what was occurring right before his very eyes. Robyn, inadvertently it seemed, had become the wedge separating his family from each other. Her manipulations, her absolute access to Kody's time and attention, and her control in his life relegated the other wives to second-class status. And it wasn't only the wives. The children felt it too. Kody's older children started speaking out, particularly Garrison and Gabriel, Janelle's boys. They made it clear and out loud that they felt abandoned. They didn't know the man that their dad had become. His daughters also started to move away, wounded by how little he interacted with them, as opposed to the attention he lavished upon Robyn's kids. Even Robyn's own children couldn't help but notice the tension. They sensed the disapproval of half-siblings they barely met. They witnessed their mom pulling into a shell of defensiveness, retreating further and further inward, becoming increasingly anxious, and then the final straw. Financially, everything was falling apart. Kody was splitting too many houses, too many bills, and too many commitments. When it became too overwhelming, Robyn proposed an answer, one that shook the family. She said they should sell the other wife's houses and keep only her house. That statement, leaked by one of the older kids, was the ultimate betrayal. For the others, it solidified what they always thought. Robyn wasn't only Kody's favorite. She was calling the shots, and she was doing it on their behalf. The confrontation that changed everything. It all boiled over on one steamy summer evening. Kody convened a family gathering not only with Robyn, but also with Janelle, Mary, and even Christine, who had long since moved on and opened a new door with her husband, David Woolley. The children were included as well. They sat down with each other at Kody Pass, standing on that expansive, barren ground that had come to symbolize so many shattered promises and dreams. Kody seemed shaken. He breathed deeply, and then finally uttered the words no one had ever dreamed would ever be able to pass his lips. I was wrong. There was silence, at least for a moment. Even the wind ceased. He slowly turned, locking eyes with each of the women who had once stood beside him, thick and thin. His eyes were red, his face furrowed with emotion. I allowed this family to crumble, he said. I allowed my love for Robyn to cloud what I was doing to all of you. I hurt my children. I hurt each of you, and I'm sorry. Robyn remained frozen, clutching her youngest child, her face pale. Christine spoke up, her voice unwavering but firm. You allowed her to destroy us, she said. Kody nodded slowly. I know, and I'm taking responsibility now. He turned next to Robyn. What he had to say shocked everyone. I think it's best if you and the kids find somewhere else to live, at least temporarily. I need to try and rebuild what I've destroyed, and I can't do that with you around. Robyn gasped, her voice no more than a whisper. You can't mean that. But he did. The aftermath. The weeks and days that ensued were replete with moving vans, hushed whispers, and scrutinizing public eyes. Paparazzi lined the streets outside of Robyn's home, taking pictures as she loaded boxes into the back of vans and her children into vehicles. Passers-by stood on porches, muttering little but thinking much. Within the home, feelings were running high. Robyn's children were confused, hurt, even angry. They could not fathom why their mother, who had always maintained that they were the center of the family, was now being edged out. In the meantime, Kody started making things right. He went to see Janelle and fixed a fence that had been broken at her rental property. He spent actual time with Garrison and Gabriel, making amends. In person, he took Mary to lunch, just the two of them, and explained to her genuinely that he knew he had let her down as a friend and as a partner. And in an instant, few could have envisioned. Kody even sat down with Christine and her new husband, David. He told David that he'd been petty, small-hearted, and jealous. He said that Christine was better than that, and he meant it. Robyn finally speaks. For weeks, Robyn remains silent. No interviews, no online posts, hardly any communication with her extended family. But finally, she did sit down with a local journalist and provided a tearful, emotional interview. I never wanted to hurt anyone, she said, sobbing. I just wanted my kids to feel safe and loved. I didn't ruin the family. They drove me away because they couldn't abide that Kody loved me. But for too many who were watching, her words were not believable. It was too little, too late. The damage was done. Kody's turning point. Now that Robyn and her children were gone, Kody had time and space to reflect. For years, he'd been the center of the family universe, the patriarch, the glue that held everything together. But now he realized otherwise. He understood that a true family isn't about control. It's about connecting, about respecting, about loving all your children, not the ones who just happen to be under your favorite roof. He immersed himself in the task of rebuilding bridges. He spent more time with his older children. He fawned over his grandchildren, even began attending therapy with the wives, still eager to repair their relationships, learning to listen more, to speak more gently, and to actually be present. The children revealed their truth slowly. The Brown children started sharing what those years had actually been like. Aspen, Christine's daughter, laid it out. It always felt like we didn't matter as much. Like Robyn's kids were his real family and we were just kind of there. Leon, Mary's child, wasn't mincing words. She played the long game, and she won until she didn't. Even Dayton, Robyn's oldest, conceded he had conflicting emotions. I love my mom, but I recognized what was going on. I recognized that we received more attention. It did not feel right, but what could I do? Finally, Robyn found another home, a humble rental on the outskirts of town, away from the big house, away from the hub. Robyn retreats. Kody rebuilds. Once she left the family house, Robyn isolated herself. She centered on her children and attempted to rediscover who she was as a person other than Kody's favorite. It wasn't simple, but she knew that she felt excluded. No more invisible lines between her kids and the rest. A story of accountability. The story of Kody and Robyn Brown is more than a cautionary tale about favoritism or poor judgment. It's about taking responsibility, finally, fully. For years, Kody didn't want to see. It was simpler to point the finger at his wives, the press, or even the culture he lived in rather than staring into the mirror. But when he did own up to his errors, when he told Robyn to go and began repairing the bridges he'd burned, he demonstrated something tremendous. Even flawed individuals can change. They can grow. And perhaps, just perhaps, Robyn will realize her own role in what occurred. Perhaps someday she will discover her own road to peace and healing. The family. Now, months later, things are still complicated, but there is hope. Christine and David are doing great. Their home is happy, their marriage is solid. And Christine is full of joy in a way fans hadn't witnessed in years. Janelle is enjoying her independence, living life on her own terms while maintaining a good relationship with Kody as a friend and co-parent. Even Mary has started fresh. She's dating again and has discovered a quiet strength in her own self while remaining civil with Kody. The children, while still recovering, are gradually allowing their father back into their lives. The trust is not completely rebuilt, but the door is open. And when Robyn and the children were asked to vacate, it wasn't because of spite, it was courageous. Kody ended the poisonous cycle that had encircled his family for decades. He made the difficult decision not for ease, but for truth. He chose the health of his children, his wives, and ultimately himself over the fantasy of a flawless existence that Robyn's presence had come to symbolize. And for the first time in many years, he began creating the type of family that he'd always envisioned. Not perfect, but authentic. A new crisis, Kody left devastated. After Mary and Janelle say no, back at his place in Flagstaff under the desert. Mountains, watchful eye, Kody Brown sat alone in his living room. His energy and charisma were gone, like worn-off armor. His head was in his hands. His face, once so confident, now appeared hollow and lost. This wasn't the Kody viewers had grown used to on Sister Wives. This wasn't the confident head of a sprawling family guiding for wives. And 18 to 18 children. This was a man worn thin, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And the moment that truly broke him, when Mary and Janelle, two women he had once believed he could always rely on, refused to help him out of the financial mess he'd created. The rise and fall of a dream. Kody had always been proud to be the provider. He ran several homes, navigated his big family through transitions and relocations, and for a time kept it all on an even keel. From Utah to Las Vegas to Arizona, every relocation was framed as a chance. He purchased property at Coyote Pass, envisioning building one big house where they would all live under one roof, a monument to togetherness. But the dream never materialized. Instead, the family fragmented into individual houses. The cohesion Kody had talked about became more difficult to find. Christine departed first, then Janelle, and even Mary pulled away. The emotional bonds had unraveled, and as they did, so did the family's fiscal well-being. Robyn's price tag, one of the most significant causes of fiscal strain, Robyn. Whereas his other wives lived frugally in leases, frequently pinching pennies. Robyn's residence had a different tale. It was spacious, fashionable, and adorned with top-of-the-line furnishings. Her kids went to private school, vacations, upgrades, and seemingly limitless costs. And Kody never said no. Blinded by his love, he invested money in keeping Robyn comfortable as others were barely getting by. It didn't escape notice. The other wives noticed. So did the children. The breaking point. As the bills mounted, Kody was frantic. He borrowed money, sold assets, attempted to renegotiate contracts for the Coyote Pass property. It wasn't enough. Desperate measures. Kody's pleas fall flat. When the bank phoned warning that foreclosure loomed over Robyn's home, Kody realized he was out of time. Swallowing pride, something he hadn't done in years, Kody called the two women he once turned to most, Mary and Janelle. Though physically far apart these days, he felt sure they'd assist him. After all, hadn't they stood by him for everything? The conversation with Mary. He phoned Mary first, racing to her tiny rental house on the outskirts of town. Kody rehearsed his words repeatedly, attempting to find the proper tone between urgency and humility. Mary opened the door with a friendly but reserved look. She invited him in and asked if he'd like tea. He said no. After they were sitting down, Kody wasted no time. "Mary, I realized things have been awful between us, but I'm in a bind. Robyn's house has an overdue mortgage. The bank's threatening foreclosure. Just need a bit of help, something to catch us up." Mary sat quietly, her hands clasped in her lap. When he was done, she shook her head. "Kody, I can't help you." He stared, shocked. That wasn't what he was hoping for. "What do you mean you can't? We're still family." Mary caught her breath. We were family. But you made it very clear a long time ago that I wasn't included in your life anymore. You humiliated me, shoved me aside, and treated me as if I was invisible in my own home. You chose Robyn every single time. And now you're here asking me to save the house you bought for her. No, Kody, I won't do it. The words hit like a punch to the chest. Kody tried to appeal to their shared history, but Mary stood firm. You made your choices. Now it's time to live with them, she said as she gently walked him to the door. The conversation with Janelle, still shaken, but not yet willing to quit. Kody went next to Janelle's home. Surely she would get it. She'd always been rock steady. Pragmatic, the one who kept their family from flying apart. But as he sat facing her in her small kitchen, things seemed off. She wasn't the woman he remembered hunkering down with during hard times. "Janelle, please," he urged, voice strained with desperation. "Robyn and the kids will lose their home if I'm not able to make the payments. You're financially savvy. Can you loan me enough to see this through?" Janelle didn't bat an eye. Loan or give. Let's be real. You've never paid me back on anything. Janelle's expression was unrepentant. Kody blushed. "This time is different. I promise." But Janelle shook her head. "Nope. No, Kody. I am not doing it. You ignored me when I needed you. You ignored our children. You chose Robyn over all of us, over and over. And now you want me to dig you out of this pit while she gets? To live like a queen and the rest of us scramble to get by. No," Kody leaned forward. "It's not just about her. It's about the kids." Janelle's tone turned hard. "We all got kids, Kody. You just remembered most of them." He was quiet. The aftermath. Defeated, Kody walked back to his car, sat behind the wheel, fists clenched around it, his eyes fixed on nothing. He felt more alone than he ever. The long road to redemption, with little money to his name and fewer friends than ever. Kody made the toughest call of his life. He requested not a loan, but forgiveness. He invited his wives and children to Coyote Pass for a family conference. All of them attended, although many of them arrived with defensive expressions and folded arms. Standing in front of them on that arid plot of land once full of grand illusions, Kody finally dropped the charade. "I've let you all down," he said. "I let my ego and pride and my love for Robyn get in the way. I took you for granted. I hurt you and I apologize." There was a silence never had.